y'all, I'm T the Brand, fellow lashpreneur and lash marketing mentor. I teach lash artists to market smarter, lash better, and keep clients returning. Welcome to my channel, and if you're listening to the Powerhouse Lash podcast, welcome back for another episode. Okay, so this episode is titled, How I Almost Gave Up on My Lash Business. And I think everybody reaches a space or spaces because I have almost given up more than one time on this lash business. And I think we all hit that space at different times, whether it's due to burnout or a slow season. That'll really make you want to quit. Or just, not feeling like things are going the way that you planned or wanted them to go. I'm going to share with you guys a story today. I hope it encourages you. I hope it kind of makes you laugh a little bit. And I hope it makes you feel a little bit ridiculous about wanting to quit, especially if you truly believe this is what God has called you to do. So let's go ahead and get into it. It was 2021, January to be exact. I had just had my last interview for a job. I had interviewed for what I thought was my dream job, which was a social work position as a school social worker. Now, I had already been a school social worker. That was the job that I lost in 2020. But there was a position that came open with another district, and that position would allow me to work across multiple school campuses and not just one like I had been doing, prior to. And so I told God going into that interview, like, Lord, if I don't get this job, I'm going to trust that you want me to go full time with my lash business. I did not get that job. And I had to honor my word and trust that he wanted me to go full time with my lash business. So I went full time with my lash business. And my expectation was for it to be a breeze. And not to say that I wouldn't have any obstacles, but I thought it would be way easier than what it was because I was being obedient to what God had told me to do. Like, you want me to not be a social worker after I done did all of these schools, got this professional license. And so you're supposed to, make the crooked path straight. And he did, just not the way that I thought it would go. So around March of 2021, I knew, okay, I need to get my own lash suite. I was using a space that my cousin had allowed me to use. I talked about that in the last video and in the last episode of the Powerhouse Path series that I'm doing. And so I moved out of her suite in April, and I got my own suite in the same building. My rent was $490 a month. That was beautiful. However, it was not beautiful as a beginner lash artist because there were a lot of things that I did not know. That year, I had a decent amount of clients, but it wasn't enough clients to sustain the business with me working in a suite independently. That $490 was nothing compared to what a suite rent or space to rent would be now. But back then, I still didn't really know how to grow my clientele. I still was a beginner lash artist, so I was still slow on my lashing. In regard to time, I also wasn't making enough money because I didn't have enough clients to pay that suite rent, keep up with inventory, pay for the booking site and Canva, because that was a subscription that I had to have, pay for Canva, pay my personal bills, and live a life because I'm just a girl. Like, it wasn't enough money. But from April to November, I held on to the suite. So throughout that year, I got my license during the summer, my lash license, and I just kept trying to do what I thought I should do. I invested in a mentor, and she was great until I learned that she was just sharing a bunch of great information and didn't know how to help me actually apply the information. And so I opened my own mentorship program because I realized there was a gap in our lash industry. Like, there are a lot of people sharing great things, but a lot of people can't tell you how to apply those things and customize those things for your lash business. And so I jumped into that, and thankfully there was grace in that. The Lord carried me through it, but I still wasn't making any money from that because it was a one-time payment for 7 weeks, I think, of mentorship. So that was really stressful. It was just a really stressful and a stressful year. It was stressful on me creatively, mentally, spiritually, because I'm like, God, you are the one who called me into this. I was minding my social work business, but you had a different path for me. And now that I'm on this path, you want me to struggle? and not know what I'm doing and not have money and all of these things, man, all of these things. And it was just very, very taxing. And now looking back on it, it was 4 years ago. So it's easier to talk about in a light sense, but being in that space, I did not think I was going to make it. And honestly, I think I reached a point where I didn't want to make it anymore. Not like I want to struggle, but I didn't want to keep struggling doing lashes, building a lash business. I absolutely wanted to quit. I didn't see the value in it. So through the slow season, which was all year, and the burnout of, creating different Instagram layouts, and for a couple of weeks I would like it, and then one day I would wake up and be like, this feed is ugly, and I would erase all of the posts on my page and start over, and I was tired of starting over. I had been in business for about a year or so, and it just felt like nothing was concrete, nothing was sticking, nothing was working. Why am I doing this? Can anybody relate, or am I alone? Okay. If you can relate, say I can relate in the comments so that I know I'm not alone in this. And then once we surrender, well, let me not say once I'll share from that perspective in a minute. But once I finally surrendered and accepted, okay, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to have to let my sweet go. I'm going to have to pivot and find a new plan. And just being at that point of exhaustion, I remember feeling Holy Spirit be like, finally, you're quitting so that I can show up and start doing the things that I need to do to sustain you through this business. And it was the biggest pride check. Although God gave me this thing to do, he still wants to take care of me, and he's not going to let me suffer if I'm doing it the way that he wants to. And it wasn't a matter of, looking back, I can say it wasn't a matter of he didn't want me to do my lash business anymore. It was just time for me to have a different experience and do something else within my business. So once I came around to the thought of I'm gonna have to go and work for somebody, that's when the new blessings started to flow. So let's talk about that real quick. I remember being on the phone with my best friend one day in my apartment, and I'm just kind of like, I don't want to have to go work for somebody. Like, I don't want to go work for a lash studio. I've been lashing on my own since I started in August of 2020, and I felt like a failure. It made me feel like a failure to not be able to sustain my lash suite and take care of myself. Like, God, you said, and this is what it is. And so after my best friend reassured me, like, this isn't you being a failure. You being a failure would be you not listening to this sense that you're getting, which now I can say was Holy Spirit. You're not listening and being obedient to him telling you to look into a different way of working with your lash business. So I got on Indeed that day, and it was just crazy. I got off the phone with her, got on Indeed, and I saw that there was a spa hiring for a lash artist. Not only was there a spa hiring for a lash artist, it was less than half a mile from my apartment. Like, if this were the corner that my apartment was at for me to drive into why am I doing all this? Drive into, for my gate, this over here was where the spa was. Like, I just walked down the sidewalk and I was at work. And so once I realized, like, oh, that's my zip code, I Google the address, and I'm like, yo, that's right here on the corner. And it was so funny because when we first moved into those apartments, my husband and I, who was my boyfriend at the time, we were walking our dog, Sparkle, and we walked past the spa, and he was like, oh, babe, you can work there. And I was like, I don't know what they do there. They do lashes there and other spa services, but they definitely do lashes. So that was crazy. So before I even submitted the application on Indeed, I called them and I let them know, like, hey, this is my name. I see that you guys are hiring for a lash artist. I live across the street. I would love to, apply. Like, tell me what I need to do. And the lady who answered the phone, who I spoke with, she ended up texting me after we got off the phone. She asked me for my Instagram. I sent her my Instagram. They loved my Instagram, and I had an interview the next day with the owner of the spa. I go to the interview, and the interview goes really well, and I think like the next day or a couple of days later, she hired me, and I started working there before my actual start date, and it turned out to be a good experience for the time that I was there. I was only there for 6 months because I walked into work one day and I overheard the owner having a very not kind, not professional conversation about me with another what do you call it? Independent contractor who was there. And so I quit immediately. But this isn't the story about me quitting that salon. This is about me being able to put my pride aside so that I could hear God, trust God, and keep my lash business. If I would have stayed in a space to where I was so determined to hold on to that suite, I would have had to let the suite go because I wasn't able to afford it. I would have continued to be stressed. I would not have experienced God's peace that surpasses all understanding because I should have been going crazy, like totally nuts. But once I did what Holy Spirit was telling me to do, there was so much relief. And I'm glad that God never ends the story without bringing the glory back to him. It's never a sense of, oh, and this is encouraging me right now in real time. In real time. The things that we experience are for our good and his glory, not just his glory alone. Like, he's not putting us through things and building our trust and our faith in him just for the sake of, oh, and I don't want this to sound offensive, just for him to be glorified. Is that the goal in everything we do and every breath that we take as believers? Absolutely. Absolutely. But he is so kind and so gracious and so loving and so faithful to be like, you're going to get something out of it too. And what I got out of it was a beautiful lash business that is now 5 years old. And I've been able to do so many things since 2021. Had I quit, had I given up on my business like I wanted to do, I would not have been able to meet some of my mentees who I love to this day. Those women are amazing, and I'm so happy for them and proud of them and grateful that God allowed me to be an advisory board for them, for their to guide them, into what they needed to do to grow their lash businesses. I would not have been able to even start this YouTube channel or start the podcast or speak at these different conferences that I've had the opportunity to speak at. That was one of my biggest dreams. When I learned that lash conferences were a thing, and the first conference that I learned about was LashCon, aka the Lash Conference, aka LashCon. And once I experienced it, I knew, because I was already a mentor, as I spoke about. I was already mentoring lash artists. I was already killing it with the marketing and branding a little bit. I knew that there was a space for me to be an educator, and I would not be able to do that had I given up. Is it hard? Yes. Is it discouraging sometimes? Yes, especially during those seasons where you can't hear anything from God. Sometimes he just silent. It is ghetto. It's the most ghetto thing. But one thing that I have lived and grown to learn and to know is that it does not last forever. And although he may be silent, that does not mean he does not love you. He does not see you. He does not care about you. He does not care about what you're invested in, that he has given you to be invested in. And I just have to say, that's why I always share that he's my CEO. And I know a lot of people say that God is your CEO or let God be your CEO, but walking that out is not easy, because to let somebody else be the CEO means you are not in charge. I am not in charge of my lash business. When I decide to post videos, when I decide what kind of content, when I decide what kind of content I need to make, sometimes it is what I want to do. But when it's what I want to do and not what he has told me to do, I feel it on the other end. When I say I feel it on the other end, I don't mean, it didn't get views, it didn't get likes, it didn't get engagement. I mean, it's just not in alignment with the purpose that let me not say the purpose. It's not in alignment with the assignment that he has me serving through my purpose right now. My encouragement to any lash artist, any business owner, anybody watching this who is experiencing a slow season, a burnout season, or a space where you just want to give up, you don't want to keep going, you don't get to see the fruit of your labor if you stop now. Like, don't quit before you get to see what it is that he has planned for you, what it is that you've been dreaming for, what it is that is beyond anything that you can dream. Because his word lets us know that God will give us things that are beyond anything that we could ask, think, or beyond what I can ask for, think of, or imagine. So no matter how creative you are, and I am creative and innovative and all of the things, no matter how creative you are, he has something beyond your best idea in store for you, and you only get to access that if you keep going. I hope that you feel loved. I hope that you feel seen. I hope that you feel like, all right, just one more day. Let me get through this day, and then we'll worry about tomorrow when tomorrow comes. Because that's all that you can really do. Take it moment by moment, and each moment gets you through a day. And I don't want to prolong this video or prolong this episode. I feel like I've said all that is in my heart to say and to share. Keep going, and keep trusting him, and surrender your control. Because when things don't work out, I love being able to say, God, this is your business, and it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do based on what you told me to do. So if something else is gonna happen, it has to come from you. So like I said, I hope you feel ridiculous for wanting to quit, and I hope you feel encouraged to keep going. I will see y'all in the next one.